Hi.
There we go. We can stand up maybe. How about that?
I'm planning on it. How's everybody doing today?
Hi, everybody.
I thought I would start things off with a little something something. Let's see if it will work.
It's very festive.
It doesn't last that long, so don't worry. See? Hooray!
Yay!
We're going to start we're kicking off, well, I guess yesterday we kicked off the Great Bead Extravaganza, but we are the first presenters for
the Tucson experience.
The Tucson experience. So we're super excited. It's always an honor to be here. We're so fortunate. And thank you for wanting us to do this again.
I know.
Originally, we only intended the Great Bead Extravaganza to be a one-off. So we didn't really have a plan for the future. But so many of you out there wanted us to do this again. And there was a little bit of a void where normally we would be in Tucson right now. But with the pandemic and everything going on, we're not. So we're here and we're having our own personal Tucson in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Or wherever you are.
Exactly. Remotely.
Remote.
Or if you're living in Tucson, hooray.
Lucky
You're
you.
having the Tucson experience.
Double Tucson.
Right.
All right. So we've got a lot planned, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do everything. So, of course, as always, there have been some technical issues this morning.
We are in Mercury retrograde right now.
And it slammed my...
Full force.
real hard.
Andrew's computer keeps just dying.
Which is real not helpful when you're trying to help coordinate an event and answer questions and do all that. So not super awesome, but we're here now.
Yay!
And that's what matters. And then of course we flipped everything around. Originally we were going to do it at the store, but I figured this would be easier since
we already have enough issues. Let's not move
everything. Let's not add moving vehicles to that. So
I'm gonna let you get started showing them. We want to tell you there's a discount code. We told you there would be discounts and lots of good things going on this weekend. So we do have a discount code in the online store for 15% off for you all only. Bead Extravaganza is the coupon code. You can use that on anything in the online store, including these wonderful new things we're going to show you.
So I made these to debut for this event, but then I couldn't wait. So if you are a regular viewer of Allegory Gallery's Facebook Lives, you can go grab a coffee, or enjoy them all over again. So, so I'll flip the camera around. Mm-hmm. We'll do kind of a swap-a-roo, and then we'll get cooking.
All right. I'm going to switch over here.
All right.
Get out of your way.
Let's flip it around. I hope you all are doing well. Where are you all from? Tuning in.
Yeah, let us know. We like to know where you're from. We like to know that you're here, that we're not just talking to ourselves. We like to hear how your week has gone.
And here, if you want to add the discount code so that they can see that.
Do that right now. Right now.
All right. I see 205 people are joining in so far.
So say hello.
Here's my little agenda. All right, so we talked about the discount code, and I thought we would do the new pendants that I made. So I don't know if you all are familiar with me and William and Allegory Gallery or not. If you want to learn more, you can always go to allegorygallery.com. We have a blog there. We do Facebook Lives every weekday. On Tuesdays, usually I do a tutorial. Who knows what that tutorial is going to be on that day? Usually I look around the last hour of the store and see whatever sparks my curiosity and then share that with all of you out there. But I'm also an artist. I'm a mixed media artist. I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City. And my family is Green Girl Studios. You'll be seeing Cynthia later on in this weekend. And you'll be seeing her and her goodies. But they are a metalsmith-based company out of Asheville, North Carolina. And for me, I dabble in the metal as well. And that's what these are going to be. So this is the first little pendant. Let me zoom in here so that you can get a gander. And we'll just go through these real quickly because we've got a lot of stuff going on. And I don't want to take up too much time with this because I want to get into the fun. But I wanted to share these with all the people who maybe didn't see these the other night. They're brand new. I just finished these up. They are kind of my, I kind of think of them as metal collages and little miniature sculptures and assemblages. This one here is got little tiny diamonds, sapphires, a sterling silver. It's all sterling silver except for these little bronze pieces here. This stone here is poppy jasper and a little carved bone face. Now this one retails for $475, but for you this weekend, if you take advantage of the code, you'll get 15% off, which is a steal. So there's that little one. Here's a great big piece. Let me adjust the lights here so you don't see too much of a shadow. We've got some lighting issues. Anyway, so this is the Crazy Lace Agate. I've bezel set these, and they're a serrated bezel, so it adds a little bit extra pizzazz to the piece. And this little face here is the carved bone face. I really love those carved bone faces. Those are carved in Indonesia. And I just really love them. I aged and patinaed this, so it really kind of popped out the details and added a little bit more extra character. A lot of the materials that I use, I end up altering so that they, they're more customized and unique. This here is a labradorite bezel set cabochon, and this is imperial jasper, and the rest is all sterling silver. And I added a little signature there. That's the AG for Allegory Gallery. I know there was somebody who said, "What's your last name?" I thought your last name was Thornton, and there's a G. And what does the G stand for? And I was like, well, it stands for Allegory Gallery because that's my life now. So, yes, so this pendant here it retails for $445. Now, moving on to the next piece. This is a sister stone to this one. These were all carved and cut by a very talented artist from Tucson, Arizona, whose name is Gary Wilson. He is an incredible artisan, and we've been lucky to know him for many years. And I've have a little stash of his pieces. So this is, again, the carved Indonesian bone face. I set these little labradorites and gave a little halo of stamped metal. And this is, again, poppy jasper. All right. Oh, and this one retails for $4.35. And again, if you use the discount code, you will receive a discount because it's a discount code, 15% off. I sold one of them, so I'm not going to show that one, but I will show this one. This is the last one, and then I'll get on to my other work because we are going to run out of time otherwise. All right, so this is fossilized palm wood. It has this really cool pattern, and that's from the little veins or chlorophyll something. In the wood, it's a porous wood, and that translates when it's fossilized, which is pretty cool. Now, these are crazy lace agate as well, which this is also crazy lace agate, but it is cut from a different part of the stone, and so it's got more of an ochre yellow instead of that creamy white, which I always think is fascinating that the same stone can have so many different colors in it. And there's a little coral cabochon as well. I've also included some granulation with fine silver, which I think adds a nice decorative element as well. And this is all sterling silver as well, except for the little bronze signature. I like to add a little bit of pop of contrast with the mixed metals. It's not always easy to do the mixed metals. Sometimes they don't want to play nicely together, but I force them to work, so that's what happens. Now, this one retails for $445. And again, if you use a discount code this weekend, you will save. All right. What do you think of this little mini collection here? I'm proud of it. I hope that you all enjoy them as well. All right, so I don't do just metal. I do other things as well. And if you saw the last video, which you can watch on the replay, I showed some of the techniques on how to add surface embellishment to wood. And here are some of the things that we did the last time. So this is a wood pendant. We design and cut the laser with a laser, these wooden pendants. Yeah, so we do that all in-house. We sell those online at allegorygallery.com. And they're wonderful blank canvases for you to add your own personalized touches. So with this piece, we did mica. It's suspended in an acrylic gel medium. And when it dries, the gel medium dries completely clear, and that shows the kind of the metallic sheen of the natural mica. And then after it dried, I just went over real quick, and this was after we all our time together ended, but I went in with some raw umber acrylic paint. I dry brushed it on and then wiped it off, and then gave it a little bit of an antiquing that way. This is acrylic paint, which is one of my favorite techniques. I think, acrylic is just a really wonderful medium because you can achieve so many different painterly techniques, and you can fake a lot of things with the paint techniques as well. So these ones were all done with acrylic, and this one was gold leaf, which was extra shiny. I think I showed that where I used an acrylic, an adhesive size, and like a rabbit skin glue, and that's used to attach the gold leaf. And then this was nail polish. And then we had some colored pencil that I went over with a sparkly nail polish as well. So there's a lot of different techniques that you can do. And if you are interested in learning about how I did these, you can always watch the replay of the last video They are pinned in the announcement sections. And if you go to the topics section here on the Facebook group, you can see a topics section that says presentations. And just look for the one that has my smiling face. And there you'll have it. So sometimes what ends up happening is you'll make something and you won't love it, like this. I did this in colored pencil, and to be honest, it's not my favorite. So I'm going to show you how to quickly prep this and get this ready for a new second life. So here's a product that we're going to be using. It's this is gesso, which is a calcium carbonate that's been emulsified with a binder and forms the base of different paintings, and it's a surface prep and is really wonderful if you want to add a little extra something. When you're working on these pendants, I don't know if you remember this or not, but because it's a plywood, the glue that they use to attach the sheeting to the base, it adds a little bit of a waterproofing a quality to the pieces, which is good because normally if you're not going to paint the pieces, then you don't want them to get, messed up, being soaked up with water or whatever. So you do have to prep the surface a little bit, and that's easily done. All you have to do is lightly sandpaper the surface and then add a coat of gesso. So these pieces, we'll see if they will accept the gesso or not. And William, can you go in my studio and get a piece of sandpaper? Mm-hmm. It's on the floor. LOL. But these should be fine to add the gesso. There should be a circular pad. So all I'm doing is just adding a quick coat of gesso. And then what I'll do is I'll set these off to the side. Now, if you did end up sealing one of your pieces, all you have to do to get it nice and ready to accept the gesso is this is a 220 grit sandpaper. Sometimes I get these for my orbital sander, and instead of just cutting up pieces to fit my hand, because they come in great big sheets, I just fold these over and then use that. So if you do need to do it, you could just lightly sand it. Circular motions are best, but really it doesn't matter. If you ever get a chance to come to the shop here in Ligonier, Pennsylvania, we do sell paint at this store. We sell a brand of paint called Junk Monkey Paint. Junk Monkey Paint is a really wonderful paint. It's a chalk paint that is a mineralized paint that has resins in it, and it pretty much sticks to anything. So if we were using Junk Monkey Paint today, we would not need to sand these at all because the paint would just bond to the surface and we wouldn't have to worry about it at all. All right, so I've sanded those down, and I'm just going to go over with a quick coat of gesso. So that way, if you ever make a mistake on your piece and you're disappointed with the way it turned out, it's not the end. You didn't waste $8 on your pendant. You can always just sand down the surface and start anew. So easy peasy. And you can do these in nice smooth layers. Or if you're like me and you like texture, you can kind of glob it on, and when it takes longer to dry, of course, if you do it this way. But if you glob it on and you add brush strokes, it'll add texture. And that texture, if you do paint washes on top of it, you will get, you will see those that pop out. Whereas if you do smooth layers, you're not going to get the same textural effect, which is fine. Now, if you really want to make sure that your piece is really smooth and you want an even coat, after you add one layer of gesso, lightly sand it with an 800 grit piece of sandpaper, and then add another layer of gesso. If you are working in one direction, go in the other direction, let that dry, and sand it again, and then you'll have a super, almost glass-like surface. And you can definitely do that if you want a super smooth and slick surface. For me, I always am interested in texture, so I'm always trying to think of ways to add more texture. I've even taken sand and mixed it in my paint because I wanted more grit and texture. And yeah, you know, I think when you are doing stuff that's super smooth and really pristine, you can see any imperfection. But if you've got more texture and you've got more wabi-sabi kind of the perfect and imperfect and perfect. Perfect and perfect. Say it, William.
What?
The imperfect perfect.
The perfect and perfect.
It's the wabi-sabi, basically. So you embrace the imperfections, and if you do that, then if you have more textures and things are a little bit off and not super smooth, or things are a little bit crooked or whatever, it looks on purpose. Which is always nice, because if you do something where, you know, it's super even, super smooth, and then, you know, you mess up, you can see it. All right, so I'm going to set these aside because they're wet. To speed these up if you need to, I always have a tile with me. This tile is really nice because it's portable, and I can also use a heat gun to speed up my dry time. You could also use a hairdryer if you wanted, and that would work as well. For most things, some things you do need a higher temperature. Now these ones I already did in advance and added gesso, and the gesso is already dry. What I'm going to use here is absorbent ground. This is a wonderful primer that's great for, as it says, water media, but it's also what you would put down for pastels and all sorts of things like that. It's got a little bit of a tooth to it, and we need that tooth for the technique that we're going to do next. Now, it comes in white. And if you want to make sure that you know what layer of paint you're on, you can always scoop some out like so and add just a touch of another color. Just a touch of another color. And then throw the paint can on top of the stuff. No, but what we're doing is we're slightly tinting it. And the reason why I'm tinting it is because when you're working on white layer on top of white layer on top of white layer, sometimes if you're working on several different pieces at once, you can forget what layer you are on. But if you add a slight color to your gesso or to your absorbent ground, you'll always know which ones you did and which ones you didn't do if you step away from your work surface. And then say things get waylaid for a couple weeks. And then if you're like me, you have about 1,001 different things going on all at once. So I don't always remember what I'm doing. So this, even if I put this away and I go away for months at a time, whenever I come back, I will know which step is which. I'll know that I didn't put absorbent ground on this piece yet. So I'll just do that real fast. Now, the reason why we're doing that is one of the techniques that I wanted to show you is a technique that I love. It's a salt technique, and I thought I invented this technique, and I thought that I was brilliant, and that I was an inventor, and I was so proud of myself. And then I realized that somebody else had come up with this technique. But originally what happened was I was out shoveling the sidewalk because it gets snowy here in Pennsylvania. And I noticed that the salt had left these really cool patterns on the sidewalk. And I wondered what would happen if I did that on purpose and in my artwork. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm cleaning my brushes, and if William could be so kind to get me some paper towels, then that would be super awesome too. All right. Oop. All right, so I've got these. They've got the absorbent ground, and I'm going to let these dry, and I'm going to show you the technique that I'm talking about. It turns out that it's a watercolor technique, and I worked up these sample boards so that you could see what the technique looks like once it dries. Because unfortunately, you can't really speed these up. This technique is really good if you let it naturally dry on its own. If you don't let it dry on its own, it's not ideal. It's not going to have the same technique as if you let it dry naturally. So these are some of the techniques that this is going to look like. So what it does is it creates this lovely mottled effect. And you can see these kind of little, this patterning and these great kind of, where it's pulled the ink away from it and it's kind of concentrated it in these speckles. I just love the surface treatment, and I do this all day, every day, and I'm happy to do it. And my studio, there's nowhere to walk because there's lots of stuff all over the floor, and these are one of them. So I always have canvases ready to go. And in theory, these little prep blocks that I did to show the examples of the different colors, I'm going to paint on these. So in the near future, hopefully, you'll see these turn into little paintings. And I always try to do a series of affordable paintings every year so that not only do I get money, but then you get to collect some of my artwork. And I know that sometimes when you're collecting artwork from different artists, sometimes it can be cost prohibitive. And you can't always get all the pieces that you want. Like I would love to have a Kiki Smith piece, but I'm not a millionaire. So unfortunately, I can't do that. So I just have to kind of hope that I win the lotto one day, or one of you out there is a Kiki Smith collector and you just really want me to live my best life and will put it in the mail for me. LOL. So this is what the technique looks like. And to do this technique is really easy. You can do this on plain gesso, but I recommend using the absorbent ground because it's got a little bit more of a tooth. And when you've got a tooth to it, you're going to you're really gonna see that you need that texture and grit for the pieces to really soak up. So what I'm going to do here, you can see my palette is it's an actively used palette. This is not, I didn't get everything nice and pristine for you. Unfortunately, you get to see a real slice of life here. So these actually are not canvas. These are pieces of draft board that I cut with a laser. And then I added a coat of gesso and then a coat of the absorbent ground. And then I'm going to show you what's next. So I don't like to mix things straight from the bottle. I feel like if you do have something straight from the bottle, you can tell, like, as an artist, I'll look at some paintings and I can always tell what color palettes they use and how they mix their paint. And sometimes it takes away the fun. So what I do is I always mix my paint from the tube so it's not straight out of the tube, and you get more of a custom blend and you can keep them guessing. Now, if you are starting to work in your whatever mixed media, I can't recommend getting this enough. Raw umber is a wonderful, wonderful staple. I would recommend getting your primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue, and get this raw umber, get some titanium white, and some black. And if you get a black, I would recommend a carbon black. Now, there are all different kinds of blacks. There's bone black, there's ink black, there's all kinds. I like carbon black because it's the blackest black. Blacks like Mars black is a little bit of a redder black, and there are ones that have a slight blue sheen to them. But for me, if you're going to get these, if you're going to get a starter kit, get a phthalo blue, a yellow, and you can see this was on clearance, and then the red. Oh, here's the red. Oh, and get a red. And these are your primary colors, and then get a black, a carbon black, and a white. And of course, I didn't bring the white. So this is not my studio. This is William's office. It had better light. And so that's why we're in here today. And plus, it's a little bit cleaner. So what I'm going to do is this green, I'm going to, and also if you want, gesso has a base of titanium white. So you can always use a little bit of that in with your paints. You can mix that in. That actually will give you a fresco technique because it's got calcium carbonate ground up in it. So it will have a more matte kind of finish, and it will have that kind of silky, satiny finish of a fresco. So what I'm going to do, you can use that if you want, if you're in a pinch. But I'm just going to mix up the colors, and then I'm not going to work straight from the tube, or the I guess that's a tube, from the canister. And I just made a baby poop green color. And I'm just not going to really care too much. I'm just going to glob this on, and I'm going to take this here, this phthalo blue, which is one of my favorites, and then just go over that And I'm using a lot of water in this technique, and you can see I'm picking up water on my brush, and I'm dabbing it on here so that it's got a fluidity to it, and it's got movement. If the paint is too dry, you're not going to get anything. You're just going to get a crunchy surface. So then I'm going to take some salt and sprinkle it on. And this is sea salt that sometimes what I'll do is I will use different sizes of salt grain to get different effects. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So I just sprinkled some salt on this, if you can see, and I'm going to let that dry. And once that's dry, I'm going to get my handy friend, the sandpaper, out, and I'm going to hit the surface of that and knock all the excess salt, and then seal this with gel medium. I like to use a matte gel medium, but if you want things to be more glossy, you could use a gloss gel medium. Now, when you're sanding the salt, get that handy dandy mask that we're all wearing these days and put that on your face, because if you don't, you're going to be breathing in salt and your boogers are going to be salty. And
salty boogers.
Nobody wants extra salty boogers. So do yourself a favor and save yourself from salty boogers. All right, so I just showed you that technique, and we're going to fast forward because we're on a budget, a time budget, and we're running out. So like I said, once this dries completely, let this dry naturally. Don't hit this with the heat gun or the hairdryer, because what's going to happen is it's going to dry before it's going to have that chemical reaction where it's going to soak up all that juice to the salt flakes, and you're just going to waste your time. And so don't waste your time. So let this dry naturally, hit it with a sandpaper, and then go back over it with some gel medium, and then you will be happy and have a surface like this. All right, so moving on. So in our preview night, I hinted at this. If you watched the preview night last night, of course, I put my foot in my mouth. Sorry about that again. But moving on. So these are some of the new things that are coming to Allegory Gallery. They're available online. You can go to allegorygallery.com and see all of the fun things that we've got there. These are our new leather pieces. Normally, if this was wood, I would be afraid that you could just go like this and break it. But because it's leather, it's flexible. Now, leather is a natural product. It's got its wonderful qualities, but it also has its drawbacks. And you kind of just have to work with them. Like, one side is smooth and the other side is a little bit more textural. That is just leather. So you, and also if you are working, I saw somebody ask about the sandpaper. If you really want to remove a lot of material fast, use a lower grit sandpaper. This is 220 grit sandpaper. But if you want to polish things and get things super smooth, move up in your numbers. So hit it with a 220. That'll take stuff off real quick. You kind of have to use a gentle hand with this, because if you go scrub too hard, you're going to take the whole thing off. So then work your way up to a 400 grit, and then a 600 grit, and 800 grit. And if you want to get a mirror-like finish, you would get a 2000 grit. And that's what they use to add, to really buff things. I also recommend, if you want a good source for sandpaper, go to your auto parts store, and they have a myriad of selections that you can just pick and have your heart's content. All right, so these leather pieces are new. They're in the shop. I've got I have 3 designs here. Three designs. Here's this honeycomb, which is fun. I've got this leaf, and I've got this feather. Now, these are cut with a laser, and we do our best to take the smoky flavor of that away, but sometimes they do have a tad of whiffiness to them, and that's just what happens when you work with fire. And one way that you can combat that is just hit it with a light coat of the gel medium, and that will lock it in and act as a flavor saver, and you won't smell anything. So here's this piece. The great thing about this is, say, you want a shorter piece and you don't want to mess around with it. You can get your handy dandy scissors or cutters out, and if you're very careful and don't get too wild, you can trim this, and here you go. You've got a shorter link. So say you wanted to do a piece where you were cobbling together and making a geometric pattern, that's what you would do. And then you could always save that, waste not, want not. This would be better if you got your cutters out, not your fancy fabric scissors. If you get your fancy fabric scissors, they won't be fancy fabric scissors for long. They will be dull scissors. So don't dull your scissors. All right. So I'm about to run out of my time. William is going to come on real quick. But what we'll do real fast is we'll add a little bit of color to these real fast, and then we'll do that real fast. All right, so this is my vintage patina paint. You've probably heard me before if you've watched me say this is not a real patina. Real patinas are a chemical reaction between a surface and the elements around it. So if you have copper and you want verdigris, the old traditional method of getting verdigris is to pee on it. I don't recommend peeing on your copper jewelry unless you want to, but that's patina. If you come to Ligonier, there's a wonderful bandstand in the middle of town. It has a copper roof, and because we like to have carbon emissions, and there's acid in the rain, it's starting to turn green. That's just like the Statue of Liberty is a green color. That's patina. And I know it sounds gross, but you know what? Andy Warhol, a Pittsburgh favorite, Pennsylvania favorite, he did a whole series of pee-pee paintings where he invited his friends over, like Basquiat, and he gave them lots of beverages and then included them in the artwork process. Maybe too much information for the morning time. Sorry about that, but it's all true. So anyways, these are heat set paints that are designed for metal. They are not real patinas, but they are one of my favorite ways of adding color to metal. So I love these patina paints, even though they're not real patinas. I still love them. Now, if you are interested in real patinas, our friend Christy Friesen, who is coming up this weekend, she makes a whole line called Swelligan, and those are real patinas. So I'm just taking this on. I use a dry brush. I like to have a dry brush because I find that if you have a wet brush, you will curdle your paints. So this, I'm just doing the first coat of this. This is a Victorian gold, and I am just gonna add this. I'm not gonna even care about how precise it is. I'm just gonna go to town. And this dries super fast, and it's almost dry just because the leather kind of soaks it up. And leather has those little boogers from cutting. So once this is dry, you'll just hit it with a brush that's completely dry, like this. And you'll knock down all of those little crusties that kind of form. And as I said earlier, I don't like things to be straight out of the bottle. So I'm going to mix a little bit of this one. This one is called Aged Bronze. And I'm going to mix this, just a drop in there. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a different look. And then go around and just lightly go over it. And that's going to give it a little bit more dimension. And then once that's done drying, I might even go over with a brighter gold and hit that on top of that and just really bring that out. Now I saw that Kay, she's teamed up with Vintage, or not Vintage, with Tierra Cast, one of our original 17, and they're going to do some honeybee links. So great minds think alike, right? And here you go. You'll have, it'll be a bee palooza of honey themed things. So I'm just adding this on real quick, rough and dirty, because William's got to go on. And there you go. So these are our new pieces. Check them out in the online store. That's allegorygallery.com. And you can see all of the 3 designs so far, but we'll add more throughout the weekend. Hopefully Mercury will cooperate, and we won't have too many more technological issues. So my part is done. That breezed by real fast.
And you thought you'd have to fill more time.
I know. So I'm going to move my stuff. I was going to say something else, but luckily I'm being mindful of not getting the diarrhea of the mouth. And I'll move this aside. This is the other good thing about working on these little portable sections, is that you can pile your junk up real fast and get out of the way of the person coming in next. All right, William.
Okay.
Who's ready?
If you watch our lives, you know what the Who's Ready is all about. So, what do we have for you all now? Well, in addition to the new leather pieces that Andrew just showed you all, we also are debuting a new design challenge kit. Now, I've posted some links already to our design challenge group here on Facebook, but you can always go to our website and hit the links for our groups and clubs. We have a book club, which is really fun. Some of these have been put kind of on a temporary hold through COVID, but our book club is worldwide, and you can join in on the fun. We call it Inspired by Reading, and we create one book. No, we read one book a month, and then everyone makes something inspired by that book. So it may be, it doesn't have to be jewelry. It could be art. It could be clothing. It could be anything. And then we show those all in the group, and we meet in person if you're local 1 time a month. So we have that. We have a polymer clay club that is mostly online. We did more in-person meetings at one point, but we kind of fell apart on that again with COVID too. And then we also have our design challenge group. And our design challenge group is made up of a lot of great people, and they help to inspire one another. It's not just about the challenges that we do. It's more about the camaraderie and the inspiration. But we have a new kit. Pretty much every month we come out with a new kit. And this is the kit Andrew worked all night on. He's been working for days gathering all these things and finally got everything together. And this is Fairy Garden. Okay, so Fairy Garden kit is in the online store. There will be a mystery component that Andrew will be making. We always do that, so you don't get to see that here. But you can see all the wonderful components in the Fairy Garden kit. And we have a reveal date for the mystery component, which is in the description on the website. There's a reveal date always for the mystery component, and then a reveal date for the projects. And the reveal date for these projects will be April Fool's Day, April 1st. So if you purchase one of these kits on April 1st, you should be ready to have something made, and you can use all of the kit. You can use just a few pieces of the kit. You can use your own items in there as well. This is a mix that Andrew creates for each kit. And this is the luxury bead blend here. Lots of great things in there. And we're going quick because I'm running low on time too.
Do you want to know what these are?
Let's okay, tell them, Andrew.
So this is check glass. This is miracle beads, which is a coated one that has a kind of a chatoyance. It's a manufactured product. And that's crystal that's also coated. And then we've got vintage crystal. We've got, those are vintage plastic that has an AB coating. Those ones are vintage check glass.
And these are in a purple and a green. Beautiful vintage check glass.
There's some more vintage check glass.
Beautiful.
Those ones are vintage lucite. We've got some vintage crystal. They said it's vintage Swarovski, but I don't know. I think it could be. And then this is some ceramic, some vintage Chinese ceramic. These ones are more vintage Chinese ceramic.
Little ladybugs. I love those.
And they're purple ladybugs.
Purple ladybugs.
And some contemporary check glass. If you want, we're doing a trunk show with Raven's Journey. That's almost over. So if you are interested in getting any of that check glass, you better hurry because we have to send it back this week.
Toot sweet, toot sweet.
And this is some satin cording. And then the luxury bead blend has all kinds of goodies in it. It's got crystals, amethyst, quartz, everything.
Yeah. So that is in the online store. And be sure to use discount code Bead Extravaganza. That's Bead Extravaganza. I've posted many links here in the comments. But if you use that discount code, you'll save 15% off this weekend. That code is also good through next Sunday. So you get a full week if you'd like to peruse the website. But don't take too long because our kits often sell out. So if you want to get one, please be sure to grab one soon. All right. And then we have a letter. So do you want to talk about this a little bit? Beads of Courage. Andrew?
Sure. Flip it out. So one of our favorite organizations is a nonprofit called Beads of Courage. They're a wonderful organization. We're friends with the the inventor of the group, the founder of the group, Jean Gribbins. She started Beads of Courage. I posted some of the videos that show her talking about what they do. It's a really wonderful organization that implements arts and healings and helps children and families facing serious illness heal and tell their stories through beads. So part of our Tucson adventure would not be complete without including Beads of Courage. And so I asked her what we could do to kind of highlight and spotlight them. And all of the presenters were really enthusiastic about doing it. And she said that they got a letter in the mail just recently, and she would like us to read this letter, and that would describe the mission of Beads of Courage perfectly. And William is going to read the letter to you.
Hi, everyone. So I guess you'll just look at my face while I read the letter. Better than looking at nothing, right? So this letter is from the Thompson family to Beads of Courage. Dear Beads of Courage, on February 28th, 2015, we gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Olivia Jane Thompson. As the sun broke the horizon that morning, it lit up the snow-covered mountains to the west as temperatures struggled to reach 0 degrees. February 28th was proving to be a day to remember by the birth of our child in a landscape that is difficult to forget. However, little did we know the journey our daughter would fight to overcome, and the genuine care Olivia received would remain in our hearts for the rest of our lives. Following a healthy pregnancy, Olivia was born but did not cry, wiggle, or take her first breath. Her medical team advised that she immediately begin hypothermia therapy for brain cooling because she was showing signs of hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. As we sat, silently watching Olivia lay still as monitors beeped and the ventilators hissed, one of her nurses approached us carrying a purple bag. She opened the bag and handed us a few beads and explained how Olivia is going to have a wonderful story. These beads each mean something and honor all of her courage and yours too. Throughout her time in the NICU, each bead was another milestone, another victory, and another step in the right direction. The visual representation helped us to see the progress and remain hopeful. Olivia will soon turn 6, and for the first time she recently asked, "Where did I get that necklace?" A difficult conversation followed, but a beautiful one too. From the magenta ambulance ride to the aqua tube insertion, she appreciates them all, but one stands out as her favorite, the turtle. As tears filled our eyes, we found it all too fitting that her favorite represented her first home, the NICU. 5 years later, these beads continue to aid in the healing process, remind us of how far she has come, and help us to tell her wonderful story. Thank you to this program for a gift we will cherish forever. Sincerely, the Thompson family. So it's a very important part of many people's lives, and it's such a great organization. And like Andrew said, it wouldn't be Tucson without them. So thank you all for tuning in with us here at Allegory Gallery. We're going to sign off, and Candy Cooper will be up with you in another 15 minutes. All right. Thank you all. Make sure you take your potty breaks this time, and we'll see you here again. Find us on Allegory Gallery.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.